Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. Breaking news, President Zelensky from Ukraine's aircraft was targeted by what looks like four quadcopter-style military drones as he flew into Dublin. It looks like he's on an A320, an Airbus, but it looks like they were targeted in a hybrid attack. Luckily, the attack didn't go down, but was this testing? Is there a plan in the works to try to take down President Zelensky from Russia? We're going to be diving into all that throughout this video. And happy top of the morning to you. Little coffee break. Hope you guys are doing great wherever you're watching from. Let's just go ahead and dive right into it. So we'll start with this article here from The Independent. And again, followed by military drones before Dublin visit in a hybrid attack. So this is the kind of attack that a hybrid military force of drones would do. You would have multiple of them. They're not going to operate as singletons because, again, when you have the different strike axes, you're coming from all different areas. It's very hard to defend it against. So President Zelensky was flying towards the Irish capital, and the drones flew towards him in a breach of a no-fly zone. So when I think of a breach of a no-fly zone, I'm like, okay, if there was a breach of a no-fly zone, why weren't these things taken down? Why wasn't there the ability to take these things down? And how could you actually take them down? So I'll be getting more into that throughout this video, but this is what the quadcopters could have looked like. So basically a strong military quadcopter here. And these are very capable. Now, the ability for the speed to keep up with an Airbus, not impossible, but also, the Airbus should be able to outpace this thing. But if this gets in the flight path of the Airbus and it's using some sort of advanced AI and it has the ability to just, go through an engine or something like that, now there's a real problem without it even having to go as fast as a jet. So some other options that we could see, you can see the size of these things. They're relatively large. And let's see. Yep, so this one's a smaller one. Could be something that size, but I would expect it to be a little bigger if it's a military grade version. These are relatively larger drones here that can cause a serious problem for aircraft. So quick overview of that for you. And then I just want to give you guys a quick rundown, quick brief on this, more about what happened. So kind of like an executive summary for you. But they breached a no-fly zone because the jets were approaching the flight path of the aircraft shortly before its scheduled landing at Dublin airport. So again, there's heightened security concerns over Europe right now over hybrid tactics, and it's under investigation right now by Irish authorities. But their plane landed slightly ahead of schedule, averting any direct encounter. So again, maybe the fact that the plane was a little early means that it didn't interact with those drones. There was no damage or injuries, but this definitely, to me, it underscores the vulnerability of airliners, especially, airliners of presidents who are in a hot war with Russia. So suspicions obviously point to Russia's orchestration, obviously, potentially leveraging sophisticated UAVs for non-kinetic interference or even for kinetic interference. So non-kinetic interference could be disrupting the actual systems on the aircraft to make it not be able to land safely, or trying to force it into a crash scenario, make it look like an accident. The GPS system just happened to go down when they were on final in the clouds, a couple hundred feet above the ground. This is the kind of sophisticated electronic warfare attack that could be enacted by these drones as well. So again, there's no official reporting on where the drones came from, but let's be honest. Mother Russia had a few too many shots of vodka and decided to send these up, in my opinion. That's not confirmed yet. But here's kind of what the path of the drones, the actual itinerary of the drones looks like. Looks like they launched around 2100 GMT from the northeast Dublin area. So they actually launched from Dublin, possibly near Howth Head, and they flew for up to 2 hours, reaching the sea approach to Dublin Airport by approximately 2300 GMT, and it was timed to coincide with the plane's expected vector, the plane's expected arrival. They breached the no-fly zone and illuminated their lights, suggesting intent to be visible rather than stealthy. So is this an intimidation measure? Zelensky's aircraft, it's a modified VIP jet. It touched down at 2250 GMT minutes early, and it taxied in securely. The drones missing their primary target, if that's what they were going for. They veered to circle the Irish Navy patrol vessel L.E. William Butler Yeats in territorial waters approximately 12 nautical miles off the shore. So they went from the flight path of this aircraft and then they vectored over an Irish Navy patrol vessel. I mean, that's just insane. At this point, if this is Russia, they just don't care. They're like, well, you can't really track us anyways, so we don't care. We're going to do what we want to do. But the response measures were constrained by operational limits, but what does that really mean? They're saying the response was constrained by limits. Why weren't there fighters up there? Why wasn't the UK putting up F-35s, putting up some sort of an aircraft that could compete with these with rocket-propelled rockets for drones? That's one of the main things that these jets now have to have. We got to have rocket-propelled, laser-guided rocket pods on the jets now. And ideally, a two-seat fighter is the way to do it. So could that have been put up there by the UK? Absolutely. So it is weird that they're saying it was constrained by operational limits. What else was going on? UK, what else were you doing? Like, get some fighter jets up there. We got Zelensky up there, who's a very important figure right now in this war versus Russia. Protect these flight paths, obviously. But again, no shoot-down order was issued due to risks of debris fallout near populated areas and the vessel's armament. Well, it flew over the ocean afterwards, right? It flew out 12 miles over the ocean, so you could have shot it down after, collected the debris. Maybe they actually followed these things to where they were going to go. I hope so. But the Air Corps jets were airborne, and it says they didn't engage, prioritizing de-escalation. Okay, yeah, I mean, again, being soft on Russia is kind of the name of the game. We've seen it a lot. But again, if you're going to send up drones that could be in the flight path of an airliner, either needs to be shot down once they get out over the water, or you got to follow them to where they're going to go. But then they had a high-level emergency meeting afterwards that convened in Garda Síochána, defense forces and national security officials with those defense officials. Okay, like, we are going to write a very stern letter that this is not okay. All right, I get it. I get what they're trying to do, but at the same time, you can't let this happen. You can't let drones be in the flight path of airliners. There has to be repercussions for that. Zelensky's departure later that evening employed a specialist low exposure takeoff procedure. Okay, sure. Investigations continue to trace the operators with no drones recovered at this point. Okay, yeah, doing a special takeoff in an airliner, you're still in an airliner. You're not in a fighter jet. So you're still going to be susceptible to this. So again, we have to have, so think of Anduril Fury, Anduril Sentry, all the different technologies from Anduril, the anti-war capabilities of Epirus. See if I can pull that up for you guys real quick. Epirus anti-drone. This is what needs to be around. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they don't have this. So this kind of thing needs to be around all of the different airports. So if you look at this structure here, this radar structure, now you've got the ability to use microwave radars to take down drones. This has to be around airports, guys. I've said it before about having this around concert venues. We got to do this now. We can't be susceptible to drones. And I'm telling you, the next incident will likely involve drones. Think of a swarm of drones flying into an open air concert. We got to protect against that. We can't let that happen. So again, this is the technology that needs to be focused on, and it needs to be intertwined into flight paths where there could be any VIPs coming through. So we just have to be on our game when it comes to anti-drone tech. And then this microwave system from Epirus, highly capable. Definitely recommend this bad boy. But again, the drone characteristics: 4 large quadcopters, multi-rotor UAVs with 4 propellers enabling precise hovering and maneuverability. So again, this thing can put itself in a position to take down an airliner if it needed to. Just going through one of the engines, going through both of the engines, or scrambling some of the electronic avionics interfaces inside that airliner itself. Some potential origins here. So there's been other incursions of UAVs in Europe, obviously. But this one, let's see, it looks like potential undetected shadow fleet of drones. It's just a shadow fleet, not undetected. We can't detect this thing. Of course you can detect it. Again, having technologies out there, more advanced technologies that are going to cost some money from Anduril, specifically the Anduril Sentry, all the different technology that Anduril uses to detect drones, Epirus microwave anti-drone technology. You gotta be able to compete with this threat now. The Pentagon, the Department of War, just released yesterday a video stating how the U.S. is going to double down on a $1 billion drone program, and I hope that involves anti-drone tech as well. I really hope that it involves that. But again, Russia's Wagner-linked or GRU units have precedence in drone proxy attacks, obviously, potentially using local sympathizers for deployment. So local sympathizers in Dublin or just Russian sleeper cells, which we know exist all over the place. Alternative theories include non-state actors testing Irish defenses, for maybe some sort of terrorist action. But military-grade hardware points to foreign intelligence. Inquiries focus on signals, intercept, and flight logs to pinpoint control signals. Or just keep the jets up there airborne, have them follow. Or now we have good guy drones up there that can go up there and follow these drones. Just follow right with them. Have military grade drones on the good guy's side so that we're not caught with our pants down and Zelensky gets schwacked. We got to prevent that from happening. The attack methods, this is probably like a psychological thing, them putting these drones up there and then turning the lights on, saying, hey, Zelensky, we're looking at you. And they're basically trying to get in his head. But illuminating them in flight implies a psychological intimidation. Even radar spoofing could be something they're doing and testing. And then it could also be trying to interfere with the electronics of the aircraft. So worst case situation, escalation, modified quadcopters might carry small warheads and they could ram into the aircraft itself. We all know how that would end. And that is akin to adapted commercial models that have been used in Ukraine to go up against Russian forces as well. So both of these sides have these, but the success of this attack would be hinged on timing and the inability of, in this case, the Dublin defenses, the Irish Defense Forces, inability to protect the aircraft. That's what it comes down to. You got to have anti-drone tech. You got to have fighter jets with rocket pods. You got to have fighter jets with frickin' rocket pods instead of sharks with frickin' laser beams. So here we are in this new day and age. It's unfortunate, but you got to have that counter UAV tech. Directed energy weapons have to be a part of this. Microwave sources, again, because this is classed as hybrid warfare, and it signals to me, we don't have it confirmed yet, but it signals a shift in Moscow's rhetoric and a shift to asymmetric threats against Ukraine's allies, and maybe them taking on even more of a guerrilla-style war. And they're aiming to potentially deter or get in the head of Zelensky during these negotiations, but they're basically saying, hey, we're right here. We could have taken you out. So what is their intention? A lot of psychological warfare, but a lot of actual hard warfare showing, what they can do. So at the end of the day, this is a warning shot. This is the canary in the coal mine where we have to make sure that we have anti-drone tech when we need it. Sports events, concerts, airports, drone tech, we got to get out ahead of it. And on the offense as well, that's what the Department of War is mainly getting at. The offensive side, yes, but we got to make sure that we get our arms around it when it comes to the defense. We got to protect ourselves from these things. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you being here, checking out this video. If you would, go ahead and follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'd greatly appreciate it. And then also want to tell you about a quick opportunity. I've got a webinar on December 8th with my friends Luke and Nick. They started a company that could create a real legitimate side business for you. And real people like you and me are making $500, $1,000, $3,000 a week, some of them. So show up to the webinar on December 8th. They'll walk you through the entire process. It's free to attend the webinar. Just click the link in the description. Even if you can't make December 8th, there's going to be a recording of it that you can watch later. But show up to December 8th because that'll be a more in-depth ability for you to ask questions and find out more about this opportunity. So definitely check that out. I'll see you at the webinar on December 8th. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Really appreciate it. I will see you on the next video. I'll see you on this video right here. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.